All right, North, welcome back to the tactics board for a little discussion on man down defense. All right, we've been learning the concepts behind the adjacent slide package and the crease slide package, and we've come up with our three primary even defensive sets, that being Fortress, which is our adjacent slide package, Citadel, which is our crease slide package, and then Stronghold, which is a combination of the two, using a lock-off player on the crease and a 5-man rotation around the perimeter. All right, so what we're going to see in man down is obviously a penalty has happened. We've lost one of our players, and now we have to play short when it comes to defensive sets. So I'm going to give us three primary man down defenses to take a look at, and they're going to be dictated on what type of offensive formation we're going up against. Okay, so we'll start with what I would maybe consider the most easy to identify. If we end up with an offense that comes down and decides they're going to play us using an open set. All right, so using the open set, we expect no offensive player on the crease, and it's kind of a circle, right? And so if we were playing even, we would set Fortress against this type of defense using a 6-man adjacent slide rotation, reloading away from the ball to push everybody else into the ball. We're going to do something very similar against an open set if we are in a man down situation. We will use what's called a 5-man rotation, and I'm not going to come up with code names for these because I don't want it to get confusing. If we know we're man down defense, we're simply going to choose either the 5-man rotation, the 4-man rotation, or a box and one zone. Okay, and so those are really the three things that we're going to take a look at. So in a 5-man rotation, now let's talk about the personnel for the man down defense. We're going to keep our LSM on the field and have only one short stick midfielder. So that gives us all 4 poles to extend the reach and to provide a little bit more defense out there. And then also one of our best short stick defensive middies will be out there in the man down defense as well. And so we need to be very agile and moving. All right, the key to man down defense, there's 2 keys. You must be patient. You must stay close to the house. That's 2. And then there's one more. You must be agile. You got to move because you have one fewer players than the offense does. And so you're going to have to move around. And at all times, at least one defender is going to be splitting multiple attack personnel. So it's important to remember that and keep your feet moving and keep spidering in towards the middle, right? The house or the middle of the field is the most dangerous zone, and it's where we want to keep people away from. Recognizing that on the backside of the play, we're going to give up a little bit of space to those offensive players on the backside, but we must be able to approach quickly should the ball end up going to them. So if we end up against an offensive set that is using open for their personnel, then we're going to set the 5-man rotation. In this instance, you would expect to see, potentially take your pick. We can start with our guys down low and maybe have our short stick Indy take the ball first. All right, so he's going to call. His call obviously is going to be, I got ball. So he is on the ball carrier. At that point, we need to set up the rest of our defense. Okay, so we know that we need to have a hot right and a hot left. Okay, and then we're going to have a 2 left and a 2 right, and that's it. Okay, so at this point, we've set up our 5-man rotation, and we know that when the ball moves, then, as we like to say, the defense is going to kind of flex an amoeba over to where the ball is, right? So if the ball gets passed over to top right, LSM will call, I got ball. This defender now is hot right. This one is hot left. We got 2 right, 2 left. And you can see that these 2 defenders are spidered in. Remember, as the hot player in an adjacent slide package, your job is a couple things. You must be able to play your man should the ball go to your man. You should be in the skip pass lane to discourage skip passes across the offensive set. So positioning yourself here and here where you can potentially see and knock down those passes, and then also being ready to support should the ball carrier, and let's say in this instance, should the ball carrier dodge topside, beat the LSM, then the hot left player must fire. And let's talk through the rotation then. If this player has to fire to play that man, and we know that he's dodged this way, he's trying to come this way, the LSM got beat, and we should know that the 2 left, right? The 2 left is already sliding forward to fill because he has to be concerned about this man now. He's becoming essentially the new hot. The 2 right becomes the 2 left. The right becomes the 2 right, and the beaten player reloads back in this direction and now is the new hot right. Okay, so again, the ball went this direction. We reload away from the ball, which pushes everybody else in. And I say push. The 2 slide should already be going. Once the hot slide fires, you need to fill forward. And so you're kind of pulling the rest of the defense around the horn with you. and that recovering or reloading defender needs to fall back into the back of the line. So let's go back up top again with the ball. Up top, we bounce back out. I got ball, I'm hot right, I'm hot left, I'm two left, I'm two right. Ball comes over to this direction. I'm on ball, hot right, hot left, two right. Again, spidering in, being mindful. The two's back here. Obviously, your man is here and here, so he's 2 passes away, 1, 2, and you must be ready to support on that second slide. 2 means you are 2 passes away, and you are also the second slide. So again, if this ball carrier decides to dodge down low, in this instance, to the left side of the defense, and beats his man, at that point, the hot left slide must fire. So the 1 slide goes, the hot fires, which means the 2 fills forward, okay? And the other 2 rotates over to take, he rotates, and then the beaten man rotates back, and we're all set up again. Okay, so that's our 5-man rotation. You guys have already been practicing this pretty well. I think you have a firm grip on this one. And so now we're gonna look at the other concept that we'll use with a rotational reload, similar to this one, but we're going to use it when the offense places a man on the crease. All right, so this is similar to the defense, the even defense that I would like to see us run for the most part using stronghold, where we're going to lock off that crease player and use a 5-man rotation on the outside. So we know that the 5-man rotation, we're getting pretty good at that. In this instance, we're going to look at the offense using a 2-3-1 look at us. All right, so 2 middies up top, 3 players across the middle, and 1 at X. So if we have a 2-3-1 look, what we're going to want to do is put the short stick midi on the crease offensive player, and then we're going to set up our rotation based off our 4 poles that we have. Okay, so close defenders, typically you're used to playing attackman down low. That's not always going to be the case when we're man down, and it's not always the case ever for any defender. You should all be ready to play any position on the field, because as we slide, execute, and reload, recover, you're going to get moved around. And when the ball goes over to the other side of the field and the offense is doing their work, you guys can reset your positions and get everything back the way you thought it was going to be when you started. But as we know, it's about knowing where the ball is and what your job is based on your relationship in space to the ball. So it's not about just playing one place on the field. When we talk about our final box and 1 zone, there's a little bit of it to that when we're using zone defense, but for the most part, I'm teaching you all man defensive concepts, which really rely on positioning yourself based off of where the ball is on the field. So don't get tied into thinking I just own this piece of space. Okay, so here we go. We got a 2-3-1 offense. We got a man on the crease, and we have 4 men on our perimeter at this point. This is very, very similar to the Savage drill that you guys are used to running, except with Savage, we use 4 cones on the outside, so it's really even. The only difference here is you've got 5 cones. If you consider each player a cone, you have 5, which means that the backside player, the 2, will be splitting 2 instead of being, responsible just for 1 guy on the backside with that drill. So in this instance, if we say the ball starts up top left, I got ball. I'm left, I'm right, I'm 2. Okay, so in this instance, and it's really hot left and hot right because we're using a rotational flow again. Okay, so we have said that just like in stronghold, where we're going to lock off the man on the crease, in this instance, the man on the crease will be locked off by our short stick midi. Okay, his whole job is to essentially face guard the man on the crease and ensure that no feeds come his way. If the ball is dodged into the middle, he may end up being supportive, but he is not a hot slide by definition. He is locking off that crease player, and we're rotating using adjacent slides on the perimeter. So if the ball starts top left, I got ball, hot left, hot right, 2. He's 2 because he's splitting 2 men in the back, right? These guys are both back here, and he is responsible for each of these men. So the 2 has a tough job here in the sense that he has to be checking his guys, looking for cuts. But understand where your cuts are most likely to come. They're going to be looking far post. So whether this guy's trying to sneak up in this direction or he's looking to cut in, you're still better served by being in a position that puts you closer to where they're going to want to go, but also understanding that you can kind of help influence this man as well. So you should be able to touch him, especially with your 6-foot pole, reach out, touch his back. That's about where you need to be positionally. And then you're primarily responsible for these 2. This is not a hot slide, so you're not so concerned about having to fill forward if this guy fires. He is solely responsible for this man. You shouldn't have to cover him all that much. You're mostly concerned about these 2 here. Our hot left and hot right players, again, are looking to be in a position in space to support a dodge, support via a slide against the dodge should they need to, but also be in a position to knock down skip passes that are looking to go to that backside of the defense, okay? So now we move the ball around. Ball comes down to bottom left. I got ball, I'm right, I'm left, I'm 2. Okay, you can say hot left, hot, hot right, and you should, because that in your mind tells you I am a slide, I will go if this ball carrier decides to carry and dodge. So let's say he dodges to the defense's right, beats his man, fire, and at this point, everyone has to rotate, right? So the recovering defender, the one who was beat, reloads towards the middle, which then pushes everyone around, and everyone should have already started to rotate around. This crease player, again, let's bring that back out. So bring that rotation all the way back around. Okay, he's out here, I'm on ball, hot left, hot right, he's locked. Your call is just locked. All right, so the midfielder, you just say I'm locked. That's all you're going to say at that point. You're not really you don't have a role other than locking off that crease player. And at this point, let's take a look at that dodge again. So this attackman dodges to the inside, beats him to the right side of our defense. Okay, the hot right fires. The 2 is rotating to fill in this direction, and the left must rotate back to be the 2, because this whole backside now is open to potential feeds, but he's going to have a tough time making a feed if he's getting a good solid slide out of that guy. So we're not too worried about that happening, especially all the way to the backside. It's a tough pass to make, and because this man is already rotating back to fill that 2, he's got the directional flow. He's already got inertia taking him out in that direction. So should the pass come, if this guy manages to dump a skip pass all the way over the backside, just keep going. Okay, you go play ball then at that point. All right, so and then the beaten defender reloads here and becomes the new left. Okay, we play good solid D. Now let's say that this guy continues to press. All right, he takes the slide, it does not deter him, and he keeps coming. At that point, we have a few different options. At that point, crease defender can influence a little bit through a crease slide. But again, your primary job in this 4-man rotation is the crease offensive player. But we're starting to get in a position where you see the importance of spidering in. If this man decides that he wants to really take on the whirlwind here and try to make things happen inside 4 poles and a shorty, then he's welcome to come on in. Keep in mind, you can add support, and we can add support and really kind of deter this man and turn him out. He's going to probably try to dump off at that point, and the easiest guy for him to go is going to be up top. So LSM needs to be ready to break and approach the ball depending on where he is and get on the hands to discourage a hands-free shot. Okay, so we bump it back out. Let's take a look at it again. I'm on ball, I'm hot right, I'm hot left, I'm locked, I'm 2. Ball comes down to X. Now, we have some choices here. With a 4-man rotation, we're not even. Do we want to go play the ball at X? It depends. I'm going to say it depends. It depends on the attackman that's back there at X. If he is a weaker attackman that maybe is not very proficient at feeding creases, or cuts rather, then I don't really feel too compelled to give up a pole and go chase him back there. But there may be times that we do decide to pressure the man at X. If we do that, he's going to come out and play ball. All right, I'm hot right, I'm hot left, I'm 2. Okay, so again, discouraging the feeds and the cuts that these guys are going to be trying to do from up top. We're in position to support should he dodge to his left or to his right. And again, I'm locked, I'm 2. He's splitting both these guys up top. So we'll take a look. It's going to depend on the personnel. And you'll hear from the sideline, pressure X. Let's play the ball at X. If you hear that, go understanding that all your other defenders are spidering in and creating something pretty tough right here. You don't have to worry about leaving the crease area because you have a locked defender on the crease and you have everybody else who's kind of spidering in to support. So we'll do that. If the ball moves over here to the bottom right, I got ball, I'm left, I'm left, I'm hot right, I'm locked, I'm 2. Okay, same deal there. And I think you guys get the idea here. The same rules apply on rotations, okay? So we talked about rotations when we're working stronghold and any adjacent slide package, really. So you can end up with a rotation. We say the ball is top right. LSM's got ball. I'm hot right. I'm hot left. I'm locked. I'm 2. If the LSM decides to rotate this midi triangle by carrying it over the top, all right, we'll say he carries the ball goes with him, and this far side guy cuts the crease, and this guy floats up top. So carries over. The on-ball defender has to go with him, obviously, okay? So this is where we talked about kind of slow playing the rotation, both in our stronghold defense. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're on ball. This guy's right here, spidered in, hot left, hot right, and I'm locked. At this point, when he carries, LSM goes with him, all right, and plays on-ball defense as he goes. okay? So he goes, got it. This man's gonna cut, potentially looking for a feed from him, okay? So that's why it's important that our hot left be spidered in enough to pick up that cut early enough and provide interference for that feed, so that this guy can't just get a quick feed and a dump score there. So he's rotating towards the crease. This middy's rotating out of the crease. We will not leave the stronghold. Just as we did in stronghold even defense, we're not going to leave the stronghold. This short stick midi is responsible for the stronghold. He is the locked crease defender. He's going to stay there. So as this man comes into the crease, his defender's going to hand him off. So that handoff can be either you got him, or more preferably, the midi recognizes that he's got someone coming in and his other man has left. He's going to say, I got him, I'm locked. At that point, the pole cuts across the stronghold and picks back up on his man here. So we see this is rotated all the way through right here, and they've rotated, and now we have reset the defense. I am on ball, hot left, hot right, locked, 2. Okay? So the rules are the on-ball defender and the adjacent defender will stay with their man on any rotations, okay? So you could have something that looks even, non-standard. We could have the ball bottom left. I got ball, I'm hot left, I'm hot right, I'm 2, I'm locked. If they tried to do some sort of, three-man wheel, if they were going to work something with a rotation between the two triangles. In this instance, let's say that we're going to cut the middle. Okay, so at that point, this man again is the crease attackman or offensive player. We're not going to worry so much about him. He has to stay with his man on the rotation. If he cuts this direction, in theory, this guy would normally slide. And he may still do that. You have to honor your slide rules first. So if he cuts, but let's look at it. Let's not use the cut example. Let's use the carry example. So normally we would look at a triangle rotation between the middies or the attacks, but they can rotate what's called a three-man wheel, where they're going to pick 3 men anywhere and just rotate all those guys by carrying and pushing the guys through. So in this instance, this bottom left attackman is going to carry up the field. His on-ball defender will stay with him. The top side midi, top left, will cut the field. LSM needs to stay with him as well to discourage the feed from this man. He's carrying, and this guy is going to rotate out to where this attackman vacated. So now they've kind of goofed up what we would normally think would be the setup, but it hasn't bothered us, right? Because this man carried and followed up. This man comes in, hands off. I got him, I'm locked. And then he just carries back out this direction, or he goes back out to set up his man. So ball is now top right. I'm on ball, hot left, hot right. I'm locked, I'm 2. So the rules of the adjacent slide package, the on-ball defender and the adjacent man defender will stay with their man. The one variation is in the stronghold defensive set that we use, both in the even stronghold and in the 4-man rotation, which is what we'll call the man down stronghold. There must be a handoff there, and the defender that is covering the adjacent man who's rotating into the stronghold, into the crease, he needs to positively hand him off to the stronghold defender. I got him, and he's floating out. And once he says he's got him, he goes over here and continues to cover this man. The reason we can do that is because the men who are rotating out, the offensive players that are rotating out of the crease, are going away from the goal, and they are not very dangerous when it comes to someone ripping a shot as they're running away from the goal, outside of the paint. So not concerned about them there. Okay, so that is the 4-man rotation. Very, very similar to the stronghold, and you can expect if we have a offensive set that is using a offensive player on the crease, this will be our default man down defense. We will set stronghold, put the short stick midi in the stronghold, and we'll rotate a 4-man rotation on the perimeter using all 4 of our poles. Okay, but the last thing we'll look at is another type of defense that we can use. And so we'll bring this guy up top real quick here, and we'll just kind of set ourselves up again. So all our defenders are in here. The last one that we can use and we may play with a little bit is what's called a box and one zone. Okay, so in this instance, we're not playing man-to-man defense. We are playing zone defense, and every player on the defense is responsible for a particular zone. Once again, we will put our poles on the perimeter. So we have a box, they form the box. Okay, so in this instance, you expect them to look basically something like this, and then we have our middle player here as well. What this does is create a overlapping series of circles or zones that each of our defenders is responsible for. So in this instance, you can see our top left zone is basically going to be around right here. Our top right zone is going to be a similar size circle right about here. Our bottom left zone circle right here, bottom right zone right here, and then our middle zone with the short stick mini, he overlaps all of them. And so what you have is a interlocking series of circles that provide a defensive position against multiple types of offenses. So you can play this against an open offense, you can play it against a 1-3-2 or a 2-3-1. It doesn't really matter. Each player is simply responsible for the zone that they are in. What it requires the defenders to do is still react based on where the ball is. So if the ball carrier is in this area in his zone, once he reaches the outer perimeter of the circle that we're using, he's going to go out and play ball. When he plays ball and goes on ball to this man, then everybody else in the zone needs to flex in the direction of the ball, right? So basically, think of it as a string. If one of the players pulls out to play a ball on the perimeter of his zone, everyone else needs to kind of flex in that direction as well. Start kind of moving towards the ball, because as then the ball rolls around, this guy is going to flex back over this direction. Technically, if the ball goes top middle and we're looking at an open set, the midfielder may be the one who has to go up and play it. And if he does do that, recognize that we're going to spider in, spider in, spider in. We're not too concerned there because there is no one on the crease. So the fact that the short stick midi has left his zone is not a huge deal until we start getting cuts from outside. So you can see running a box in one zone against an open offense can be problematic because the player who's responsible for this middle zone may vacate. Now, you don't necessarily even have to play that man. If he's way up there, he's not a huge threat. You have a bunch of guys in the middle. He doesn't really have a great look at the goal for a shot. If everyone is simply playing their position, you can just wait. Remember, in a man-down defense, one of the primary objectives that the defense is trying to do, actually the primary objective, is to defend long enough to kill the penalty, right? You're trying to get your man back so you can go even and play man-on-man even defense with the guys that are out there. So if the offense is not attacking with their EMO, if they're just kind of being tentative and not really pressing the attack, that's what you want. Every second that they don't move the ball, dodge, or try to run a play is 1 second off that penalty clock and 1 second closer to getting a full-strength defense back. So when we run a box in one zone, or the play that I like to call garrison again is the idea that it's a word that's used if an armed force or an army is in garrison, it means that they are in their barracks, they're in their fort, they haven't gone out into the countryside to do battle or anything. They're all back at home, and you would imagine that at home they would be protecting that home very strongly. So I like to use garrison for the box in one zone because we all need to be staying home. This is not a defense where I want to see players, coming out and playing their man way out here, because if you do that, you don't have a ton of support because we can't have our men leaving their zones. So this is a very patient defense. This is a let the offense develop and come to you type defense. It is not an attacking defense, and it is a defense that we can use to kind of burn some clock and position ourselves to try to kill that penalty. So there will be times that we'll switch to this. So it is important to know that if you hear garrison or box in one zone, this is how I want you to orient yourself. It doesn't matter what type of offense they're running. So again, if we had a 2-3-1 and we had an offensive player on the crease, this man obviously needs to maintain ball side leverage, which means stay kind of on the ball side of this guy to deny him any feeds or passes, excuse me. If it's in the top right, then obviously this player is going to go play ball. And at that point, the string will kind of pull us, but this man's going to go down. The rules of the crease attackman typically is to be away from wherever the ball is to try to open up the middle of the field. So you can see that the adjoining zones on the left and the right will want to kind of spider in a little bit within their zone again, of course. And then the trick here is, should this man dodge down or carry even, right? Let's say he's going to carry, and we'll say that he's going to carry down this direction. When he comes down, there has to be a handoff here to pick him up, but recognizing that he may be floating back up. So these two defenders, they won't go with him, as in a man-on-man defense where we said, okay, the on-ball defender or the adjacent defender will stay with their man. That is the key difference in the garrison or box in one zone. You will not stay with your men. You will hand them off between the zones. Okay, so that is something to understand, that when you're playing zone, there will need to be communication. Let's say down here, he's got the ball and he's going to carry up. If he carries up, I'm on ball, I'm on ball, I'm on ball. I got him, you got him. At that point, and he comes down, you can call either switch, you can say I got him. Basically, the defender accepting him into his zone needs to positively say he has control of the ball carrier at that point. That's where that communication comes into play. Okay, and then he's going to reset. You don't care if he comes down here, you need to still maintain ball side leverage and be spidered into where the ball is. That still applies even in the zone. Remember, if it's top right, everyone should just be kind of spidering this direction, and you got a little influence here, and he's kind of in this direction. The garrison or box and one requires that people stay home. Okay, they need to stay tight. You should be very close. There's no extension on a box and one. You don't have the same kind of at least when we're playing it, you're not going to have the same kind of slide support and setup that you have with a man-on-man defense. So it can be very effective because it's going to keep all our defenders pretty tight, right? And we're going to let the offense kind of develop, and we'll react to what they're doing, but we're going to maintain our positions in our zones. Okay, so that is those are our three main man-down defensive sets. All right, we have our five-man rotation, which we'll use against open offensive sets with no offensive player on the crease. We have our four-man rotation, where we'll have a stronghold lock on the crease offensive player and a four-man rotation on the perimeter. And then we have our garrison or box and one zone, where our 5 defenders will be responsible for 4 perimeter zones, all with a pole, and then a central middle zone with a short stick midi. All right, excellent. Looking forward to practicing these with you guys. All midfielders and close defenders must be very familiar with all of these defensive sets, both the even sets of the Fortress, Citadel, and Stronghold, and then our man-down defensive sets of 5-man rotation, 4-man rotation with the Stronghold lock, and then our box and one zone. All right, looking forward to practice. We'll see you guys soon. Go North.